In today's video, I'm going to do something a little different, and I'm going to rank the discography of King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard. They currently have 25 studio albums at the time of recording this, so I figured that would be a nice round number to rank, even though this video will probably be outdated very soon. I should also note that they're one of my favorite bands, so even my least favorite albums I really enjoy. I'll start with number 25, Made in Timeland. This is a very experimental record. It's mostly various ideas sort of just stitched together. It feels like there's a lot of cool moments, some drum and bass grooves I really like. Ambrose's verses on Smoke and Mirrors are a lot of fun to listen to, but I believe this was mainly made to be intermission music at a couple of their concerts. And number 24, we have Eyes Like the Sky. Similar to Timeland, I don't come back to it too often. I enjoy it, it's just not my favorite album experience. This one is sort of like an audiobook that tells the story of a child raised by the Apache tribe in the 1800s, and the music just sounds like the soundtrack to an old Western film. It's really well put together, really well done. Broderick Smith narrates the story. It's really interesting. Again, not my favorite, but they really pulled it off. And moving on to number 23, Oddments. It's sort of a collection of various tracks from the early years of the band. Again, not the most solid album, but lots of good songs on here, like Work This Time, Sleepwalker, It's Got Old. And number 22, we have 12 Bar Bruise. This is their first full-length LP. It's very energetic, garage, punk rock. The songs are short and simple, but they're catchy, they're a lot of fun. My favorite is probably Uh-Oh, I Called Mom. That song is just so funny. And number 21, their most recent album, The Silver Chord. I'm not a huge fan of electronic music, so it definitely had to grow on me, but I do enjoy it. The title track specifically is really interesting. It's very dissonant and eerie, but it resolves very nicely in the second half of the song. Overall, I'd say my favorite on the album would have to be the closer, Extinction, especially the extended mix. I really enjoy that. And number 20, we have KG, their second microtonal album. On this one, they started using more genres with microtones. For example, Intrasport, sort of techno-inspired, some stoner metal on Hungry Wolf of Fate, even some folk pop, I guess, on a song like Honey. But overall, I'd say my favorite on this album has to be Minimum Brain Size. And number 19, we have LW. Very similar to KG, except maybe a little more cohesive as an overall album. My favorite song on here is probably Static Electricity or Ataraxia. And number 18, I have Butterfly 3000. This is another one that took a little while to grow on me, but now I love it. It's like psychedelic, progressive synth pop. I really love the combination of analog synths and acoustic drum sets, as well as the guitar parts on this album. Lots of interesting polyrhythms and odd time signatures on this album too. The transition from Dreams to Blue Morpho is really incredible. My favorite track on here is Interior People. Number 17, Gumboot Soup. This was the last of 5 albums released in 2017. It's more songs that didn't exactly fit on other albums. Still a lot of strong songs. There's a lot of stylistic changes throughout this one. Maybe their first metal song with The Great Chain of Being. Superposition is a little electronic and experimental. And we have some more microtones with songs like Greenhouse Heat Death and All Is Known. My favorite track on this one is the closer, The Wheel. And number 16, Omnium Gatherum. This is another collection of kind of mismatched genres like Gumboot, but even more extreme. Just listen to the B-side of this record, going from Magenta Mountain through, I believe, Sadie Sorceress. Travels through quite a few genres. Overall, I think the songs and the flow of the album is just a little bit stronger than Gumboot Soup. My favorite song on here is probably Kepler 22b. And number 15, Laminated Denim. This is sort of a companion to Made in Timeland. It's 2 15-minute tracks that were made to be intermission music. but that's about where the similarities end. These songs are very guitar based, long and jammy, very improvised. And I was actually at the two Red Rocks shows where this album was debuted. And number 14, I have Float Along, Fill Your Lungs. I kind of forgot how much I love this album until I re-listened to their discography recently. It opens with the super energetic 15-minute epic Head On Pill. They get kind of shoegazy on 30 Past 7, and the song Let Me Mend the Past is still one of my favorite Ambrose songs. And songs like Poppin' My Step and Float Along, Fill Your Lungs never fail to put me in a good mood. And at number 13, we have Ice, Death, Planets, Lungs, Mushrooms, and Lava. With the release of this album, they were officially in the jam band era. This album contains 7 songs, each kind of long-form jams, very improvised, and each one is based around a different mode of the major scale. So as a bit of a music nerd, it's a very fascinating listen. I really like this album, but every song is a million times better live. My favorite has to be a toss-up between Iron Lung and Magma. At number 12, we have Quarters. This is one of their most relaxing albums to listen to. Each song is exactly 10 minutes and 10 seconds and is written in a very soft, kind of jazz rock style. Obviously, The River is one of their most iconic tracks, but I'd say my favorite is God Is in the Rhythm. I'm in Your Mind Fuzz, number 11. This is where they really started to define their signature sound. It's got the very tight and energetic Mind Fuzz medley kicking off the album, as well as more relaxed songs such as Satan Speeds Up and Slow Jam 1 and 2. Favorite song on this album is Slow Jam 1. And at number 10, we have Fishing for Fishies. This is actually the first album they released after I became a fan of the band, so it's a little bit extra special for me. I remember being really confused when the Cy Boogie music video came out, and even more confused when the Fishing for Fishies video came out. But overall, I think the album is really well put together. Most of the songs are a bluesy rock and roll kind of sound, transitioning into this weird experimental electronic style for the last 2 songs. Overall, I'd say my favorite is Real's Not Real. Number 9, Flying Microtonal Banana. I listened to this one quite a bit when I was first getting into the band. I wasn't sure what a microtone was, but I really loved the songs, even if they did sound kind of out of tune. I have seen Rattlesnake live at, I think, 3 different concerts, and I don't think any song gets the crowd quite as worked up as that one. And my favorite track on here is Sleep Drifter. At number 8, I have Sketches of Brunswick East. This is another one that took a while to grow on me, but now it's one of my favorites. It's an experimental jazz album they wrote in collaboration with Mild High Club. It's very chill, very relaxing. It's pretty complex musically, very interesting to listen to. My favorite track on here is Dusk to Dawn on Lygon Street. And at number 7, we have Infest the Rat's Nest, their first full metal album. This album is just awesome. It's like an environmental sci-fi thrash metal concept album. Super energetic, technically impressive, and just about dangerous to mosh to. Favorite song on here is definitely Hell. And at number 6, we have Petrodragonic Apocalypse. Take what I said about Infest the Rat's Nest and turn it up to 11. This album is faster, louder, heavier, more complicated, and I even like the story a little bit more. This album tells the tale of a group of witches that accidentally turn a lizard into a dragon that destroys the world. It's over the top, it's campy, it's awesome. I think it's one of the best metal albums of recent years. My favorite track is Witchcraft. And at number 5, on the opposite end of the musical spectrum, we have Paper Mache Dream Balloon, the acoustic psychedelic folk album. No electric guitars at all on this one, although there are some woodwinds, some flute and clarinet. This album has some of my favorite vocal parts and some of my favorite lyrics with songs like Sense, Dirt, Most of What I Like. My favorite on here is Dirt. Number 4, Changes. When I first heard Hate Dancin' as a single, I wasn't sure if this album was going to be for me, but when I got a chance to listen to the entire thing, it immediately became one of my favorites. The opening track is a masterpiece. It's incredible. AstroTurf has one of my favorite drum and bass grooves on it, and the songs Nobody and Exploding Suns are otherworldly. Favorite track on here is definitely Nobody. The guitar harmonies at the end of that song are incredible. And number 3, I picked Murder of the Universe. This album is just so weird and so creative. It's been a massive influence on me, my music. It's sort of a triple concept album, breaking the album up into 3 parts, telling 3 different stories, ending with the literal murder of the universe by none other than a vomiting cyborg. Makes perfect sense. Musically, it's pretty complex. There's a lot of time signature changes, a lot of weird stuff happening in the background, lots of multi-part songs. And my favorite on here is just going to be the entire Murder of the Universe suite. Number 2, Nonagon Infinity. This is the album that made me a fan. It starts with as much energy as possible, and it doesn't slow down until about the middle of the album, but it picks back up at the end and goes right back into the first song. This is definitely the peak of their song-to-song blending style. Each track, of course, goes seamlessly into the next, with the last looping seamlessly into the first to create an infinite listening experience. My favorite track on here is all of them, because they are one song. And number 1, this is not only my favorite King Gizzard album, this is my favorite album of all time. It's Polygon Dwanaland. The psychedelic prog rock style is exactly what I wanted to hear with this album. It's been a massive influence on my music in both songwriting and production. And this album can be split up into 4 distinct sections, starting with the epic Crumbling Castle. The album tells a story of a traveler searching for the 4th color, only to be revealed at the end of the Vinyl Master that the traveler was none other than Hantayumi. The music on this album is incredible. It is a prog rock masterpiece in my opinion. It's very rhythmically complex. The chord and note choices are phenomenal. The overall complexity, the story, the ambition of this album, it just makes it a masterpiece for me. My favorite track on here is the trio of tracks Inner Cell, Loyalty, and Horology. There's some really great synthesizer work on this album, really glues everything together. It's sort of lo-fi, but it sounds really good. And yeah, overall I would have to pick this as the defining King Gizzard album. So that was my thoughts on their discography. Comment below what you think their best album is, which one's your favorite, which one's your least favorite. Again, this is all just for fun. I love them all. Maybe I'll do this with some other bands in the future. Thanks for watching.